You have an atrociously loud ass, Nicholas.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special episode of the Temporary Uncles podcast. And just wanted to say we haven't done an episode in a while, not because of this special episode, but just because of the fact that we haven't been able to do one. And the last episode we recorded really faffed up, and just half of the episode was missing.
The last episode was a real upsetting moment because it was actually great content for once, and we had the funny boy, we had Christopher on, and we had a great talk about many things, and we lost all of the good bits because it took a minute to warm up, and then we warmed up and we lost the hottest take.
Yeah. This is a special episode because Ben and I are heading to the Melbourne International Film Festival tonight. Our first time going to a film festival ever, and also very special because of the fact that we are seeing The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, the new Terry Gilliam film that has had quite a lot of legal trouble.
The legal disaster piece.
Oh yeah, and it's also his passion project for the last almost 30 years. So it's a pretty big film for him, and also just for Terry Gilliam fans, and kind of just film itself, I'd say. Pretty big. Despite the fact that the movie originally was going to cost somewhere around $60 million US.
And what did it cost?
The final product cost about $16 million US. Because of the fact that he had to self-finance, and he used a production company that wasn't the original production company, which is what caused the new legal troubles. As the producer who was originally going to make it back in the 90s or early 2000s, he said, "It's my property, you can't make it." Unfortunately, they've already made it, so now the movie's got all this legal trouble that might be stopping it from seeing theaters, which is why Ben and I really wanted to go see it at MIFF.
So why are we allowed to see it now, but
Because
maybe not see it somewhere
think
else?
MIFF got the rights to play the film before all this legal trouble happened. Same thing happened with Sydney Film Festival and Cannes Film Festival.
Right.
So
only us and the French.
Well,
could
this is
see
the
it.
second. This is the second playing at MIFF anyway. So
Oh,
they've
okay.
already played it once. So I doubt that there's any legal troubles going on with that.
Everyone
considering
survived.
the rights were purchased before the producer came and bit everybody in the bottom.
Do you know why I'm most excited to see it?
Why?
Because yesterday my supervisor at work told me I look like Kylo Ren, and I'm like, well, guess what?
Cool.
We're going to see a film with Adam Driver in it.
And I just saw one the other day
Going
called
to see a wide
Logan
boy.
Lucky.
Oh yeah,
He's
awesome.
very good in that.
Yeah?
He's very funny. I want to see him in more comedy movies.
Is he a dumb in it?
Yeah.
All the characters are a dumb.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where, well, it's like all the characters are dumb, but they each have their own things that make them smart. Like, they're all got their own, expertise, obviously. Because, the main character's a mechanic. They're kind of, knowledgeable in the crime kind of thing, considering they are previous felons. Anyway, that's Logan Lucky. This podcast isn't about Logan Lucky. This podcast is about The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
But what if I want to talk about like Daniel Craig pretending to be a hick?
We can talk about that later.
Okay.
But now, this is before the movie. We haven't seen it yet.
Not
and
yet.
now we will transition to part of the podcast where we have seen the movie. So, see ya. And, we'll see you in the future. Ooh.
I love Don Quixote.
Don Quixote. So it's almost midnight. We're in the train station because we just missed our train. So we've got 20 minutes to spare in here. So we thought, okay, why not do initial impressions on the film after just having finished it 20 minutes ago-ish. What do you think, Ben?
Ending's fucked, man.
Yeah, it was a weird ending. We could discuss it more at length later when we record tomorrow. But I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was definitely well worth the wait on we obviously weren't waiting this long for the film, but
I didn't even know that it was around until recently, so I waited 6 weeks for it as opposed to 25 years.
I waited closer to maybe 2 years for this film. Having first learnt about it about 2 years ago, and then learning that he had started production on it recently-ish. But no, yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I to reiterate, and we could I guess talk about it more at length when we start recording again tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Oh, it did.
Okay, we're back.
If you live forever, do you think you need a prostate exam?
Why are you like this?
Why do I wait till you press record to ask questions like that?
Yeah.
You know why.
It's okay, so it's like
it amuses me.
It's like 9 in the morning now. We just woke up like 10 minutes ago. And yeah, it's the day after Don Quixote, and I think it's because we're in actual podcast recording mode and not actually in a you know, in a subway
On a train.
or on a train. You know, now's a better environment to actually talk about the movie, even though we've been asleep for the past 8 hours, 7 hours. Fresh with air quotes. But
fresh like a pasta that sat out the entire night.
Yeah.
Fresh like a prawn in the sun.
Fresh like a bag of chips that you left in your pocket during the movie. A bag of Nando's chips specifically.
I was thirsty. I didn't want to eat salty chips.
You should have just asked me to get you a drink when I was getting the food before the movie.
Well, I didn't think I'd
nonce.
And didn't think I'd need it. And we had to go and get a train.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time to slurp the bin juice. There's a whole backstory to that.
I'm not even gonna ask.
Because my brother's like a degenerate and he calls everything bin everything and is obsessed with the term bin chicken.
Which brother?
Jack.
Okay.
And
of course he is.
So Jack's always telling me that I'm a bin chicken fart licker and that I slurp bin juice.
Okay.
So
I mean, I wouldn't expect anything else from a 4-year-old who plays Fortnite.
That's probably what it is. He's been corrupted. But so he's spreading it to other people.
Yeah.
Like he goes to school and he fucking says bin chicken all the time. And like we've banned him in the house. We're like, Jack, you're not allowed to say that word because it's just become a scourge in our household. Fucking bin chicken.
Next time I see him, I'm gonna call him that.
Good. And he'll call you a bin chicken fart licker.
And then I'll call him a bin chicken fart licker poop speller.
You know what? That's pretty scathing. I think that's going to end it. You're going to end the bin chicken wars.
Anyway, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, the new Terry Gilliam film.
Yes.
Very, very good movie. I very enjoyed it. It was beautiful.
You're very fun?
Yes. I thought, I mean, I absolutely loved the way it was shot. Like, the way the camera is almost constantly moving, and so the weird angles.
I can imagine
it's very Gilliam,
that,
obviously.
like, fucking 70-year-old Terry Gilliam walking about with the camera, like, squatting underneath Adam Driver and pointing it up at his face.
I was just, like, imagining that.
Yeah. This scruffy old dude.
I mean, it's probably not too far from reality, except it probably wasn't Gilliam himself holding the camera.
Probably not. I imagine that he pays someone else to do that, so he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah. That's generally what camera operators are for.
Unless you're an auteur and you have to hold the camera.
Some directors do that. But it was like very obviously the camera would have been moving around in weird angles and stuff because it's Gilliam. That's what he does. And he clearly used like a wide. I mean, he loves the wide angle lens. It wasn't as obnoxiously wide angle as some of his other films, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Although that movie still looks great. This was more of like a anamorphic wide angle lens. They should do one where everything is aggressively letterboxed, the widest goddamn lens known to man. Everything is like a 360 view. You can see all the way around all the time. And it's hugely distracting. They should do. Yeah.
There's what you give your thoughts? I've been the one talking about this movie over. You give your thoughts on the film, and then I'll keep going.
Okay, the man who killed Don Quixote. When it opened up, it was really confusing. I think it was designed to be confusing because it took me quite a while to actually connect like the plot threads in my head to work out where it was that we started.
Actually, that's
where it was going, because there are bits and pieces of other context that just leach into the film, and there's a lot of, you know, what's real, like what's something that's like a funny happenstance, what's a hallucination, what's like genuine bona fide time travel, what's like
not
magic.
Time travel per se, but more just like him remembering things.
Well, the thing, like, for example, are we allowed to spoil the film here? That we're talking about it?
I don't think we should yet. Maybe we could pass like a certain run time on here and then talk about what actually happens in the movie.
Yes, but so yeah, there are things that happen that make it really difficult to understand what the rules of the movie are.
Yeah, and that's not like that comes with the territory of a Gilliam film. He's known for making films where you kind of have to turn your brain on.
But as it advanced, I think that I've got a reasonably good idea of what it is. You right there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam Driver was great.
I like him a lot. I think he can shout very well.
Yeah.
He's got a very deep, like a baritone sort of voice. He's got a big resonant chest because he is a wide boy, and so when he gets angry, you know about it.
Blow that ship out of the sky! I love that line. Out of the sky! Blow that ship out of the sky, please.
There's a lot of top ends.
Just get like George Lucas's color range. Just like blow that ship out of the sky, please.
Blow George into the movie.
Yeah.
Blow
Jar Jar.
blow a small bag of sand onto my prostate.
Onto Anakin's prostate. Anyway.
Blow Anakin like he's not your brother.
Anakin doesn't have any siblings.
I know. I'm imagining that he's giving instruction to Ewan McGregor. He's telling him to blow him like he's not his brother.
Okay. You're my brother, Anakin.
I blew you.
I have high ground now.
You just chop and change, just insert different shit from other points in the movie.
Jonathan Pryce was also really good in The Man Who Killed Don Quixote as Don Quixote.
I'd never imagined him as being anything other than like a bit character, because I've only seen him in films where he's just been like other people. As like, I know that you said that in Brazil he's like Winston.
Yeah, he's the main character in Brazil. You mean Winston from 1984?
Yeah, he's like the Winston of that, because it's like a 1984 allegory.
Yeah.
Or like a retelling.
Except very oddball.
Yeah, except told by Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
Told by a madman. And he's also the Elizabeth Swan's dad in Pirates of the Caribbean. So and he's some stuffy dude in another Gilliam film, Baron Munchausen.
Yes. I need to watch that one.
It's very odd.
I mean, yeah, of course it is. It's a Gilliam film.
I mean, that's not really even saying anything to say that Gilliam film is odd.
Yeah. It'd be very interesting to see him try make a normal movie.
I want to see him make a 1940s film noir and just have everything have very straight, normal looking camera angles, and everything's black and white and it's got no colour in it. And it's just people going, yes, well, here's the body, and so you...
Nothing's black and white, but it has no colour in it?
No, I said it's black and white, but it's got...
Okay.
See, look, sometimes I don't make sense.
Sometimes
you also don't make sense.
Sometimes I don't word good.
You don't make words so good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, David Lynch made a normal movie once. It's called The Straight Story.
What happens?
It's about a man who drive a tractor down a road.
Man who make a sandwich.
Yes.
A man who pick his sandwich.
A man who pick his nose.
A man who scratch his toes.
What do you think the film would have been like if he had gone through, if he had managed to
With Johnny
finish it with the first cast? So back when like Johnny Depp was cast.
I'm trying to
in
think
Adam
about
Driver's
what
role.
about like how old Johnny Depp would be, because like originally when like Johnny Depp in like
This is Pirates of the Caribbean era Johnny Depp.
well, that's the thing is, yeah, like when in like a Gilbert Grape Johnny Depp, he's a bit of an open book.
That's
He's
like early
he can
90s Depp though.
he can just be sort of whatever the role requires. But by the time it got to being Pirates of the Caribbean, is getting into just like, look, I'm the weird alternative dude that you call for your weird fucking movie, and that's why
No, that's
I
what
work
Adam
with Tim
Driver's
Burton.
becoming.
Well, Adam Driver is still like behaves like a human being, and he talks
True.
like a person, and so
I'm
when
glad he's becoming big-ish.
because he's like
Potentially becoming the next Johnny
yeah.
Depp.
he has his own flavor to him, but
Yeah.
he is still like a straight man that you can put yourself onto, that the audience can put themselves
Yeah.
onto and think, okay, well, if I was him, then I would just do this.
Yeah.
He can still, at least he did that in as Toby. He was like, well, look, I'm making a film and I'm the only normal person here.
Yeah.
And I like that, but I think that Johnny Depp is too insane and too just in his own character, and too sort of, Kimasabi.
Yeah, it is interesting to see what he'd be like now in the upcoming Fantastic Beasts movie, where he plays Grindelwald. Whether or not you see Grindelwald or you just see Johnny Depp with white spiky hair.
I think you're gonna see Johnny Depp. I think that it's too. He just is his own character. It's like you know how when you put like what you had like old entertainers that did a bit of everything, like fucking Frank Sinatra. And it's not like, oh look, it's this guy. It's like, no, that's Frank Sinatra in a hat.
It's like when the Marx Brothers make films, their characters they always have different names, right?
I didn't even know that. I just thought it would be.
They're still playing basically the same character in each film. They're just given a name in context of the story.
Well, it's just a similar
So you
but
just
different
see-
thing, because you just know
Gra-
what you're getting
You
into
see
there.
Groucho Marx as Captain Spaulding, but it's clearly just Groucho Marx, and sometimes he's wearing an army uniform.
Well, Groucho is a character in himself. They invented
Yeah,
characters
true.
to insert and rename in different places.
Julius Marx became Groucho when he painted on the mustache.
And the eyebrows and the cigar and
Yes, he painted on the cigar.
yeah. It's amazing what they could do with like camera tricks back then. He smoked lead paint the entire time, and that's how he just lost his mind,
Yeah.
became deranged. Do we want to keep talking about Don Quixote? Or?
Yeah, yes, please. So, like, clearly changed it. Like, Gilliam clearly changed up the script as time went on to suit whatever time the movie was being made in. So, like, it doesn't feel like the movie was going to be made in the 90s. It feels very modern now. It'd be interesting to know what kind of changes he made to the film. So I feel like, for example, there's a plot point involving the main character's like uni graduation student film. I wonder if that would have still been the case back in the 2000s, or if it would have been maybe just.
Is it canon that he's making it for school, or is it just like?
He calls it his student film.
Well, he says I guess you could call that. So I don't know if he's just a young filmmaker or if he's actually making it for school.
True. He said it was his graduation film.
Okay, well that makes sense.
But it's also like a passion project for him, so...
Like, do you think that
And
if
then
you were in
now-
school that you would go internationally and like live in the dirt and make a film in order to get graded on it, or would you just be like, I'm gonna shoot it at uni?
I don't know yet. Well, I'm currently shooting my upcoming short film at uni.
Oh, well, I feel like most people just try and they convenient sample, which is a term from my own
when
field.
I'm not using my own equipment for this one, so I kind of...
Oh, because you've got access to different equipment, don't you?
Yeah, if I was using my own equipment, I'd be more obliged to go to Spain and to shoot a film. But since it's not my equipment, I feel like I have to keep this stuff as close to uni as I can.
I reckon he comes from a good family because he's got his own equipment that is like nice. He's got an old timey film camera, where when you turn it on, it goes.
Well, I mean, he said he made it 10 years ago, in which a film camera would have been a bit more accessible.
But it looks old, and he's like, "Don't drop that. I can't be Adam Driver.
Don't drop that.
Don't drop.
Blow that ship out of the sky, please.
Blow that camera. Don't blow that camera out of the sky. It's very expensive."
Jeez. But I really like the way he actually he made it look like it was a student film. Like he did a really good job at putting in some of the cliches that student films like to do.
Where it's black and white and it's weird as shit.
Well, I think it was black and white because of the camera that he shot it in.
Whether it was on purpose because that was just his camera, or he's like, it's gonna be black and white.
Probably a bit of both. Like, what kind of person in 2008 made a student film with film instead of using a digital camera?
I don't know, some asshole.
Although I guess in 2008 it was still pretty normal to use film.
I mean, I was reading recently that Kevin Smith of Clerks fame made his film on film because it was cheaper to buy.
He made it on black and white film.
The black and white film was cheaper to buy.
Yeah, because it was cheaper to buy. Yeah, and also, and I mean, it kind of adds something to the film anyway. It adds like an interesting quality to it.
Like it's a limitation that you have to deal with. So you go, alright, well, I'm gonna make it on black and white because that's what I've got.
The other deal with it. The other limitation he had was he could only
use villages.
He could only shoot inside that convenience store at night, and so he added in this plot point that they couldn't open up the windows. Like someone jammed the locks with gum. I'm gonna pause. We're back. Sorry, we had to pause because my parents were being loud.
Would you
His
consider?
mum just got home.
Would you consider that Adam Driver has a long face?
Yes.
Okay.
Were you expecting a conversation to come out of that?
Not really.
No.
It was just an observation.
I reckon I would love to see a movie where he and Keanu Reeves play like the same character at different points of age.
Oh, we've talked about this, Nicholas, and the way that it works is that it goes Finn Wolfhard. There's going to be some intermediary, and then Danny Sexbang. That's how it works.
They've already done that.
Yeah, I know, but there's
music video.
There's got to be an intermediary.
I can't see. No offense to Danny Sexbang, but I at this point in time can't see him acting in a feature film.
No.
No.
Okay, well it'll be Finn Wolfhard.
Finn Wolfhard, Ezra Miller, Adam Driver, and then Keanu Reeves.
I think like Adam Driver can play anyone between the age of like 25 and 40.
Yeah, I'm glad he was Kylo Ren because he's now, doing more things. And I'm very happy to see him doing more things.
Is that the first significant sort of film that he's done?
It was his big role. Before that, he had mainly done indie movies and small TV shows and stuff.
His big cheese.
And now he's in an upcoming movie called Black Klansman, which looks really good.
I think I've seen the trailers for that.
It's the new Spike Lee movie. Well, this new Spike Lee joint.
He goes undercover, and he's like the white body of the black voice of policeman.
And he is Jewish in that movie as well. So
Adam Driver is not Jewish in real life.
Is he not?
I checked on JewOrNotJew.com.
Wait, does he have a Jew or not?
He does. Yeah, since the new Star Wars films have come out, JewOrNotJew.com have looked it up.
Jew or not Jew, Adam Driver.
He's a 5.
He's a 5, so it's of course he's got a 4 on like how Jewish we want him to be.
Yeah, but a 0 and a 1.
Yeah. The 0 is I think for how Jewish he acts.
No, I
don't
think
know,
that's no.
that's
The
how
first
Jewish
one
he
is
actually is.
yeah. The first one is your ethnicness, or if you're born into it. Then the second one is how Jewish you act, and
Act
then
and look.
and then the fourth one is the wild card.
The wild card, which is how much we want him to be Jewish.
And yeah,
What about J.J. Abrams?
he's pretty Jewish.
He's quite Jewish. But Jorge Lucas.
Not Jewish.
That's a long thing. Darth Vader.
Not. Jewish.
Sadly not a Jew.
I don't know.
Mark Hamill.
Not Jewish.
Yoda.
Not Jewish. He's an alien. You can't be an alien.
Boba Fett.
No.
But they had Watto, and he's definitely Jewish.
I like that Boba Fett and Adam Driver both have the same score.
Dr. Zoidberg. Oh,
He's
I
not
mean, yes,
really
he's an alien, but he's very much a Jewish stereotype.
He's got a 5
The
for the way that he acts.
Berenstain Bears.
Not Jewish.
Barely a Jew.
Because they're bears.
But the writers were Jewish.
Yeah, but it's no.
Daffy Duck. Borderline Jew. Bugs Bunny.
I think we'll
Not
give
a Jew.
Mel
Marx
Blanc,
Brothers.
I think is Jewish.
Marx Brothers. Oh, 15.
Yeah, because they're all Jewish.
Nice.
Because they're all from the same family.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Warner Bros. 13. Anyway, let's stop looking at Jew or not Jew. They still need to make a page for Danny Sexbang.
I know.
I think, even though it's very obvious that he is a Jew.
Yeah.
He'd get a score of 5, I think, in the middle one.
Brian's a ninja. Danny's a hot Jew. They're getting sexy, yeah. They're getting sexy for you. Specifically for you, Nick Owens. Ooh.
I need to oil this chair.
Oof. My prostate. Oof.
My legu.
Your legu?
Legu.
Is that a tasty pasta?
You're a tasty pasta.
Hey Mario, do we have any Lego?
You were talking about Adam Driver's long face, and now I'm looking at your long face. You resemble Adam Driver a little bit.
I know.
You need to
'cause,
grow
yeah,
the barely a goatee.
I can't really do much of a beard at all.
Neither can I, unfortunately.
I could do like the chin bit, but as
Yeah.
far as doing the mustache, it just like if I leave it, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't have the power yet.
You know what's funny is that I had actually seen a movie with Adam Driver in it before seeing The Force Awakens.
Really?
Yeah, but I obviously then didn't really know who Adam Driver was.
What was it?
It's an indie movie called Francis Ha.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard of that.
it's quite good. It's like Noah Baumbach is like a part of the kind of Wes Anderson circle of filmmakers.
Yeah, is he
Yeah.
German?
No, he's American.
Okay, it's just that because Germans call H ha.
Ha. Oh, it's explained why her name is Frances Ha at the end. At
Is
the
it
very end of the
Is
movie.
it because her surname starts with an H?
An H and an A. Her surname starts with H-A.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a German thing.
No. The
Cause
movie's set in New York.
Oh, okay.
And it's in black and white because art.
Okay.
There's a really good scene where she's running down the street to David Bowie's Modern Love.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say like David Bowie's sandwich shop.
I accidentally kicked the mic just then.
You're going to.
Anyway, let's continue talking about Don Quixote because that's literally what we made this podcast
When
episode
you were
for.
talking about like the Gilliam making films within that look certain ways or in certain
Yeah.
contexts, we're like, oh, I wonder what the film would look like in the 90s. So
Yeah.
now it looks like a 2000s film. I'm just thinking that Gilliam doesn't really make films that can be identified by the time period much.
Well, I mean, if you look at the production quality of some of his films, like Brazil clearly looks like it was made in the 80s. Because of the way that because of like the film stock, you know. Fear and Loathing looks like it was shot in the 90s because of the way that it's made.
Well, I don't think that those are necessarily decisions that were made as opposed to
obviously,
just
but
products at the time.
I'm saying I wonder what the film would have been like back then with a different kind of production quality and like, you know.
Because I feel like, aside from the Trump reference in the film, that it doesn't really go, oh yes, this looks like 2017. Or
2018.
wasn't it made early last year?
I don't know, one of the two.
Yeah.
But like this time period, yeah. Although it was a very tasteful Trump reference, I'd say. It was very natural, something that someone would actually say in real life.
I mean,
It didn't feel forced
because
at
it
all.
comes from like an aggravated businessman. So I feel like it was if it was like some like multicolored haired chick with sandals or something, then I think it could be equally funny as like an SJW jab as well as like a Trump jab.
Yeah.
But I feel that it wasn't ham-fisted or like, "Oh, I don't like the president." It was just
I
like,
don't like the orange as president. So yeah, I mean, I think the film overall was really good. I don't see why it's getting mixed reviews. Some people saying it's like a great surreal masterpiece, and some people saying that it's a silly poo-poo movie.
is that the complaint? It's a silly poo-poo movie.
Well, no, some people just saying, well, because it's Gilliam, so it's not going to appeal to everyone, and obviously some people just think it's just too out there and too bonkers.
I think that it's a more accessible
Although,
film.
to be perfectly honest, it is one of Gilliam's more accessible. It's one of his more less out there movies. Like, it does actually make it obvious as to which, well, not obvious, but it's like not. It's clearly not like overly fantastical, and it's quite set in the real world, and then just a lot of the crazy stuff that happens are either dreams or hallucinations. But it's also up to the audience's interpretation as to whether or not they did go back in time.
Yeah, well, as far as a Gilliam film is concerned, like if you look at like Baron Munchausen, which is just like really left of center, there's just a lot of weird stuff that happens in there. They bring in just a lot of fantasy elements just for the sake of it being,
Although it is a fantasy film.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's about the ramblings of a madman, which is a consistent theme in his films. And then you got like Fear and Loathing, which is kind of confronting just in how like drug addled and like you could see that it would be misconstrued as an offensive film.
Yeah.
But the Man Who Killed Don Quixote, it just sort of feels like a story that's got a lot of heart to it. Like it's not, it doesn't have a bad message. There's a lot of like be yourself sort of things in it, and there's a lot of like a lot of nice things that develop, like the relationship between Adam Driver and Don Quixote.
Toby is the name of Adam Driver's character.
Yeah, I just don't. Toby's a stupid name. And
he was called that
Javier. It develops. It goes from like, this is nuts. I don't want to deal with you. You're an insane man. Get away from me. Your beard smells. It smells cheese.
Your beard smell.
Your beard make a funny smell. And
You always manage to make it. Do you ever just like sit in your room by yourself and just say funny smell and start laughing?
sometimes. But there's a lot of nice things about the Man Who Killed Don.
I mean, personally, I guess maybe if the film had a bigger budget, I'd understand why. But like,
I don't think it needs it.
after watching it, I was just like, why exactly did it take 25 years to make this movie? And it's not particularly challenging. It's not a particularly overtly weird film. Like, I can see why studios were hesitant to make Brazil the way that it was, and they released a cut-up they were planning to release a cut-up version of the film before Gilliam
A nice ending.
started doing private screenings of his cut, forcing the studios to be like, okay, well, enough people have already seen it, well, I guess we'll just have to release your cut as a film. He was very, very adamant that they release this director's cut in theaters, right?
Yes. Well, I think again it's just about fighting with the people that were going to give money to the film that weren't agreeing with his decisions.
Yeah.
Because they go, no, Gilliam, you can't be
And
too
I think
strange.
it was just very similar with Baron Munchausen as well. It was another film where he had to fight for creative integrity.
Did that also have production issues?
I think it had a few, yeah. But the film that really does... I think the only film of his that is an ultimate failure was The Brothers Grimm, in which it's very not Gilliam. It's very much a studio-made film, and it also was a financial and critical failure as well.
Oh, that's the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
He makes a film he doesn't want to make, and it doesn't make him rich.
And it doesn't feel like one of his either. Although one good thing came out of that was that was his first film he made with Heath Ledger, and I guess he became friends with Heath Ledger because Heath was in his film The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Yes.
Which once again is weird enough that I don't think it got a lot of studio distribution and all that stuff and failed financially, unfortunately.
I mean, but there are a lot of films like that then just become cult classics.
Cult classics. I think Parnassus still has a bit to go before it really reaches cult classic status. It's definitely got its audience, and it's definitely got fans in Gilliam fans as well, but like it has yet to really reach cult classic status, and I think a lot more people should watch it, especially considering it was Heath Ledger's last film. He died during the making of that film.
Okay.
A lot of people think that The Dark Knight was his last film because of the fact that he won an Oscar for it, but it's not. It's his second last film.
Huh.
Yeah. Dr. Parnassus had to be finished with different actors playing his part, and they did it really well. Like, it works within the story.
So originally it wasn't going to be...
I don't know, actually.
Other people playing...
I don't know if that was the case, whether or not he was going to have his face change, but probably not, to be perfectly honest. Probably added that in to be like, okay, well, we can actually do this, so why not? I think he might have reshot a bit of the opening to infer that people's faces can change in this alternate world, and then they went on with it. They rolled with it, because then it happens in the very first scene of the movie, and then when it happens with it every time with Heath Ledger's character, it doesn't feel as weird, because we've already seen it happen with some drunk who jumps into the Imaginarium early in the film. Yeah. No, I think just Gilliam films, he tends to have to make them with lower budgets than he probably would like, because of the fact that they're so weird.
That he's got to really try hard to get support, because a lot of his ideas aren't necessarily considered to be profitable.
Yeah, I really hope... I like that the Marvel movies are getting weirder and weirder as they progress, which would then be like slowly opening the general audience up to just kind of more weird films.
Well, I suppose it's
really
going to be
hope
specifically themed weird things,
Well,
because having
yeah, when I say-
superhero weird stuff
When I
is
say
fine.
weird stuff, it's more just like the bonkers visuals of some films like Thor Ragnarok or Doctor Strange, you know?
Well, I think
Because I'm sure Doctor Strange 2 would be considerably more bonkers than the first one.
Well, I would say that bonkers visuals within a context that is already considered to be normal is completely acceptable.
Yeah,
as
but
long
I
as it
just
looks
think
good.
when
And
you compare the Marvel Cinematic Universe now to how it was when it first started, like Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Captain America, and Thor all seem very grounded in reality, even though Thor is this, it's about Shakespearean aliens. But now when you compare those films to what Marvel is now, they're crazy. Like, they've managed to very slowly evolve their cinematic universe to the point in which these things still seem like they belong in the same universe naturally. That's like a natural progression of the weird, which is why I think some of the middle films seem so wonky, is because they're in the middle ground.
Because they're neither here nor there.
Yeah, which is like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man survived that middle period very well. And then luckily they started phase 3 after Ant-Man, and the films got better as they went on, because they continued to embrace the weirdness of their characters. And I think DC can do that as well. They should have with Justice League, but they made it very cookie cutter, audience pleaser film. Of course there are some weird elements, but not as many weird elements as there were in Suicide Squad, or Batman v Superman had a few dream sequences. But I do like that, just like movies as a general are just starting to become a little bit more weird, which is great, because I think when audiences embrace that, we'll get a lot more original stories being told eventually, instead of getting the same movie over and over from Marvel just with a different character.
Well, that's definitely good, but yeah, you do have
You
to
make a proper Green Lantern film now, you know?
Yes. I mean, you do have to be a little slow with it, because you do have to start with something safe to sell an idea or sell a vehicle to people. So they started selling superheroes, and people went, okay, well, as an action film, this works. It doesn't have to be Stallone McMuscle.
Yeah.
You can go, alright, well, it's going to be a guy in spandex, and that can also work. And
But even then, like, they still have to kind of make it... For example, like... There was, like, a weird dip in the amount of weirdness a film can have in, like, the 90s and 2000s, I'd say. Because you go back and look at, like, the Joel Schumacher films. They probably would have succeeded in the 70s or the 60s, as they were. But because they had just come after the more serious and grounded Burton Batman films, despite the fact that they were also quite weird, like, the Schumacher films went back to the very cartoony, silly Adam West Batman days.
Yeah, well, I think that at the turn of the century, people had to get a lot more serious, in part because coming out of the 80s and then in part the 90s, there's a lot of ridiculous, weird shit, particularly with action films.
Yeah.
There was a lot of I'm a woman, and just one guy kills 1,000 people in one go with his pistol.
You still have films like that. Rambo was made in 2008, and he does the exact same thing. In fact, that was the only movie in which he does do that. I think in the other 3 movies, they were more realistic.
More realistic, but it's still a constant tradition of beating a whole bunch of guys up.
No, the very first Rambo movie is definitely very grounded in reality. Yeah. Actually, the first Rambo film's great. Gilliam was at one point going to make a Watchmen film.
Really?
Yeah. The only casting I can remember was Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dr. Manhattan.
Okay.
Which, I mean, looking at him playing Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
He kind of does look like Dr. Manhattan there. He's all blue and muscly.
Oh, a lot of people do if you make them blue, but
and bald and muscly. But I think, I mean, really at that point, they had to kind of use a big dude. Whereas in Zack Snyder's one, they had 2 people playing Dr. Manhattan. They had Billy Crudup doing the motion capture, and then they used a muscly dude as the body reference.
That's interesting.
And then they used his body reference, like scanned him in 3D and that kind of thing, and then you put that over the top of Billy Crudup. So it's like kind of Billy Crudup's face and movement, but with another dude's body.
It's like...
So they didn't completely create the body in CG, which is why it looks so good for 2009 CGI.
It's like a James Earl Jones, David Prowse situation.
It's so cool watching that movie. There's the interview scene in that movie, and like just looking at Dr. Manhattan, it's like the close-ups of Dr. Manhattan, and it looks fucking great. Because you watch it and you're like, that's a real guy. But then like you see the VFX and it's actually Billy Crudup, like in a suit, in a mocap suit. I was like, what? That looks real. But it's CGI. What?
That's mess.
It would have been interesting to see how Terry Gilliam did Watchmen. He definitely would have embraced the weirdness of the ending.
Do you think he would have made it silly?
I wouldn't say he would have made it silly, but he definitely would have made it a bit more surreal. Not to say that Zack Snyder's film is at all realistic. Zack Snyder's one of those directors where he makes surreal films, but people don't look at them as surreal films, and thus they get annoyed when they watch them. Like, for example, I think what he does is he makes blockbuster films with art house sensibilities, thus angering people who like art house movies and blockbuster movies respectfully.
I like that.
Yeah.
You just tell your audience to get fucked.
Pretty much. So, which is why his
you
fan
who
base,
like in integrity and weird lighting, get out. You who want it straight and want explosions, get out.
Yeah.
Who's left?
But I can't wait to see his upcoming film, The Fountainhead. See how he adapts that, because it'd be more interesting to see him take on a more personal, not an action film. Like it's more of a drama. Yeah. So it'll just be interesting to see how he does that. Okay, so anyway, I think now's a good time to end the podcast because we didn't want it to be a particularly long episode.
No.
No, and now we're nearing 50 minutes recording. I mean, it might be edited down to... Anyway.
3 minutes.
But, Don Quixote, very good film. If you get the chance to see it in theaters, I highly recommend it.
Yes.
I think it's a film that definitely needs to be seen on the big screen.
Yes.
But,
I think it should get wide release. I don't think that it's so strange that it shouldn't.
should, but, like, unfortunately the legal troubles surrounding the film are the reason why it might not get a theatrical release. Although I think I heard things about it's getting theatrical releases in some countries. So
like
maybe
wide ones, like where they're going to do a bunch of showings for ages, or
I'm not sure yet, but hopefully the legal troubles surrounding this film get cleared up, so that we are able to watch this. Because I would definitely go see this again. I reckon.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
I would watch it twice.
I think we probably didn't talk about the film as much as we probably intended to originally. How good was that bit with the knight in the CD armor? The knight in the armor made of CDs. And he was like shining everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice that his armor was made of CDs?
No, I didn't.
Ah. Yeah.
I noticed it was shiny.
The knight in shiny armor. But and also the I love the imagery of this castle with everyone in like period costumes, and then there's just like guys in men in black suits with sunglasses standing around.
They're people riding in on horseback and two guys in full suits.
Yeah,
together
it's
on a
such
horse.
a good. It's just great imagery. I loved it.
Just to gather together and make fun of an old man.
Yeah, pretty much.
And pull his beard.
Make him smell.